Will Solace has survived Tartarus by DreamerAxie. Will woke up with a splitting headache. The last thing he remembered was someone grabbing him from behind and putting something over his face. As he looked around, he saw that Nico, Leo, and Jason were also wherever they were, but they were still unconscious. He looked closer and saw that Nico was bleeding from a small wound on his head, and both Leo and Jason seemed okay, at least of what little he could see in the dark. He didn't want to stop glowing in case the person who had taken them was watching and saw a person glowing if they were mortal and would immediately give them away if they weren't. "Well, look who's awake," a male voice said, coming out from the shadows, and seemed familiar to Will. It was one of the demigods that had turned to the Titan's side and never returned to camp afterwards like some had. "I remember you," Will said, squinting against the light that the demigod turned on. "Do you now, little Solace?" he said, as Will noticed Nico stirring in the corner and braced for Nico's powers. The other demigod must have noticed because he made a gesture and suddenly there was green smoke surrounding Nico until it formed bindings. "I remember you and the little Prince of Darkness over here too," the demigod said. "You're Ronan, son of Hecate," Nico said, having spent time with the boy in the Hermes cabin before he left. "Yes, with no place to belong," Ronan said, as two more demigods joined him from the shadows. "Just like these two." "Camp has changed. Your mother has a cabin," Will said, sitting up straighter. "Doesn't matter. Mother hasn't changed." "Whatever you're planning, Nico, you're only going to hurt yourself. Your powers won't work," Ronan said, turning his head towards Nico, who was concentrating hard. "A little spell I invented. Imagine when the news gets out that a son of Hecate killed two of the heroes of Olympus," he said, gesturing to Leo and Jason, who had clearly just woken up, and they too were surrounded by green smoke. "The prince of the underworld, and of course, a son of Apollo," he continued and gestured to Will, who was surprised when he wasn't surrounded by the green smoke. "3 formidable demigods and a healer. Would have been great to get the savior of Olympus, but you can't win them all," Ronan said as he turned to leave the room. "Enjoy your last hour," he said as the door slammed shut. "Are you guys okay?" Will immediately asked. "Fine, just freaking out because this guy wants to kill us, and I can't even conjure a candle flame," Leo said as he shook his hands. "Ronan put a spell on the 3 of you to block your powers," Will said. "Why only the 3 of us?" Jason asked. "Like he said, 3 formidable demigods and a healer. Healing powers don't help you escape," Will said, looking down. "No, but plague powers do," Nico said, making Will look up. "No, I'm not doing that. They're just like us," Will said, remembering what he had done to Nyx and Tartarus, and not wanting to know what it would do to non-deities. "It's us or them. You don't have a choice," Nico said. "What is he talking about?" Leo asked, directing his question to Will. And so, while they waited, Will explained about the power he had to make people sick, and how he didn't want to hurt anyone, but in the end he realized he didn't have a choice. The other 3 were as good as mortal now, but he could get them out of here and to camp. "So, who's willing to be our first victim?" Ronan said, as he entered the room with a clearly sacrificial knife in his hand. "I am," Will said, standing up, head held high. "Well, I didn't expect this from my little William Solace," Ronan said. "But come on up." At this, Nico started protesting as they had discussed. Will let the anger rise up at the point that Nico might lose someone else, and the belittling Ronan had been giving him the whole time. The fact that he didn't think he needed to restrain Will and let it boil to the surface as yellow smoke came out from Will and went to Ronan and his 2 cronies. "Little Will Solace has more guts than you." "Little Will Solace has more guts than you," Will said as he collapsed, remembering that it was them or his friends, and let the disease run its course, as they started coughing. "Yes, he does," Nika said, running up to Will, the yellow smoke not even coming close to him, as Will collapsed to his knees. The yellow smoke disappearing with it, but not the consequences. While the 3 demigods were coughing up a lung, Jason picked up Will, seeing as he had passed out, and ran out the building, seeing that they were still in New York. Nika summoned Jules Albert, and so they made their way back to camp. That one was fun. That was like a nice little short one. That was fun, actually. I need to reread The Sun and the Star. I read it once, or listened to it through an audiobook. Anyway, I've been meaning to actually reread it, because now I have the book. Anyway, that was fun. I'm dead. I'm not really dead. My throat is dead, though. I might be getting sick, so the chances of getting videos on the weekend might not happen. I'm not sick yet. My throat's getting sore and a little bit of a blocked nose at night time so far. I don't know. Could be fine by the weekend. Could not. I don't know. You don't know. And this outro is taking way too long. Katie, shut the hell up. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.